Ursula Kelly, thank you for coming and thank you for agreeing to this interview. I would like to start with your role in the EU Drivers Programme. Maybe you could explain your role?
I've been involved with the EU Drivers Programme right from the start as a senior expert in terms of my experience and background on the relationship between higher education and the impact it has on the economy. What we've been trying to do in the EU Drivers Programme is build a community of practice across the different people working in regional innovation projects across Europe. It involves people from a wide range of different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds, and they're working together as regional authorities and universities and private sector businesses to try and sort of make a transformation, on a kind of transformational project. All of the projects involved here are trying to make a big difference to the region in which they're situated. And as the groups of people have come together, I think over time, people have really benefited from talking to each other and learning from each other's experience, which is what a community of practice is all about.
Could you tell a few things about your observations so far regarding the communication between the different pilot projects within the project?
I've found the EU Drivers Project very interesting because although projects have actually been very different, there's been a commonality of issues arising from each of the projects, and all the different participants have worked very hard to share their experiences and to actually try and learn from each other and to see what they can, if some person has had a particular problem, but then they tell the group what the solution they found was, and other people have picked that up. And people have been working together very, very well, even though they're coming from quite often quite different organisational backgrounds, even when they're in the same country. They're coming from private sector, public sector, universities. They're also coming from quite different cultures, countries right across Europe, with different approaches to how they operate projects. So I think the degree of cooperation has been quite striking.
And how do you think that the EU Drivers Project has contributed to the individual pilot projects so far?
I think the EU Drivers Programme, in a sense, has actually provided the right kind of framework to enable people to learn from each other and to enable that community of practice to grow and start to develop. It is providing a platform for people to be able to interact and to see how they can actually make a difference to their region, because all of the projects that are involved are very important in their respective regions. They're very different. Some are actually based in sort of like an arts and cultural background, like the Sea Mine project. Others are more scientifically based, like the bioimaging work going on in Finland. But all of them, people have actually been working very hard to learn from each other, irrespective of the discipline.
Could you elaborate a bit on the lessons learned so far from this project?
I can say something that's actually quite astounded me, in a sense, that I feel was a very positive thing that I've taken from it so far. It is the degree to which people can actually develop common approaches to difficulties. There are similar difficulties in projects with communications, for example, or issues to do with property or financial management. And irrespective of the discipline or the actual particular subject, these are common problems that are faced across the board. And it's been very interesting to see how, although the projects were very, very different, and some were large and some were small, it still worked very well. And I think that the main lesson there is that to be open-minded about the sort of types of projects you're looking at, not to assume that because it's cutting-edge bioscience, it's not going to work besides a cultural project. That's just not true.